Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. Today's topic is so exciting and fascinating. It's definitely one of my favorite topics for sure. And I think it's going to be super helpful for so many of you. And we're going to talk about creating a portable business that you can actually take with you wherever you go. And to take this to the next level, to speak about this topic, I have a very special guest, Amel Derragui. Hello, welcome.
Hello, Camila. It's so good to talk to you. And hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be part of this great podcast.
Yes, we're so excited to have you here. A lot of you surely know Amel already and her podcast and her platform, Tandem Nomads. But for those of you who don't, let me just quickly introduce her. So, Amel is a business and marketing coach, a speaker, and the founder of Tandem Nomads. She helps entrepreneurs and those who'd like to be across the world take their business to the next level, focus and simplify their processes with a strong vision and marketing strategies that fit their resources and goals. Originally from Algeria, she became Austrian by marriage. So we got that in common. And was actually born in India and lived in a total of 8 countries and 13 cities. So if that is not a nomad, I don't know what is, right?
I'm pretty sure that a lot of listeners might have been having the same journey of traveling the world. And I don't think that I've beaten the records of some people, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess
But
there's
it is,
always more.
oh my God, it is an amazing journey for sure.
Yes. So maybe you can start off by telling us a bit about, so you are also an expat partner, and you started your own business, Tandem Nomads. What made you decide to do that, and what was this process like for you?
Okay. So actually, Tandem Nomads is my second business. I have started my business 10 years ago, actually, exactly. The month we're speaking, we just celebrated, my husband and I, our 10th wedding anniversary. And that's when I started
Wow,
my business.
congratulations.
Thank you. So the way it all started by the fact that my parents are expats. I knew that, if traveling the world was not going to allow me to continue my career, especially as an expat spouse. My career has always been something very important to me. I've built a career in advertising, and this was something that I've been dreaming of since young. It was like really something I was passionate about. So when I gave up my job, I did know that there was no way I'm going to continue to have that career growth on the move. So I immediately thought of starting my business as a consultant in marketing to be able to live on the move with my husband. So I've done that. I've been a consultant in marketing for about 6-7 years. And we did that on the move. I first, like when we married, I immediately moved to Iran. So we lived in Iran together. And then from there, we went to Austria and then New York. So while in this journey as a consultant, I kind of struggled, to be honest with you, because it was the early age of internet, right? There were some solutions. When I say early ages of internet, but I'm talking more about all these apps and startups and solutions to make your business portable. When I started, there were very few tools out there. Today, we live in an amazing world where all of this is possible. But when I started, it wasn't the case. So I really struggled to make my business portable. I would really be very it takes time to build up a business wherever you go. So by the time I would start having my first clients and I started having some great successes, I remember my last month in Iran, I signed up a huge contract with the local public company. It was, I mean, I didn't sign. They actually end up accepting after months of negotiations. And like, guys, it's too late. I'm leaving. And this was something that I was dreaming to do. And at the end, other people got the contract. I had to give the projects to somebody else to implement what I've been recommending. And this was very frustrating. So figuring out how to create continuity in the business while living on the move was something nobody could help me with. There were tons of mentors who wanted to help me with my business, but couldn't understand what it was to live on the move with a business. And then the second thing that was even closer to my heart So I kind of had to figure that out, how to make my business portable. But the issue that I had along the way that was much more emotional was the whole thing about being an expat spouse and the identity crisis that goes with it. This feeling of, nobody really cares of who you are. Nobody asks you what you do when you're the expat spouse. And I had to fight hard to create my place wherever we went, where it wasn't always about, what my husband does. and But even more, it was hard for me to connect with other expat spouses because there was a bit of a taboo around Korea. There was either a taboo, so I felt very lonely. I wish I could have connected with other expat spouses who were going through the same thing so that I didn't feel alone in this. And then I started talking about the importance to understand that we don't have to start from scratch. We are able to continue our careers. It's possible. So I got really passionate about this. And along the years, I was always asking myself, what can I do about this? And one day I heard my first podcast show. And that's when I said, I had my light bulbs come out. I was like, bing, 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 this is it. So I started the Tandem Nomads podcast show 5 years ago. And that was more
Wow,
of
that's such a long time ago.
yeah, in November. Actually, at the
Incredible.
time when this episode is going to go out, is going to be the fifth anniversary of Tandem Nomads podcast show.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah, I'm really excited about this. So when I started it, it was not a business. It was just an outlet for me to talk about something I was very passionate about. And I did it on the side of my consulting business. But a year and a half down the road, I couldn't keep up with both. The Tandem Nomads podcast show picked up. The demand was there. For me, it was also a way to see if there was a demand.
Yeah.
And it was confirmed, and that's when I closed my consulting business and decided to build the platform of Tandem Nomads, and with coaching services and as well as online courses to help expat partners either find their business idea, start it, or those who already have one who want to take it to the next level. So there's like 3 levels.
And that is so exciting. Oh, I love it. And I love that you just, you had to figure this out by yourself, as you said, which I think so many people can relate to. And it's not always a topic that's discussed in these circles. It's also sometimes really difficult for expat partners, especially if they know that they're going to be leaving in a few years' time. So that moment where you probably sit and reflect, okay, what do I want to do?
Mhm.
Is sometimes just there just sometimes isn't the time for it. But of
Exactly.
course, by creating a portable business, it's not about where you are anymore. It's just about you, your business, and wherever you take it with you, that's totally fine. And thank God we live in a different time right now, right? Where there are so many solutions online, even.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the possibilities are just endless.
it's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So, you recently talked about the career curse, I think you called it,
Hmm.
that a lot of expat partners face. Can you just tell us real quick what that is and how that plays into maybe considering to become an entrepreneur, even if that's something that you hadn't thought about before?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. It is at the end the whole reason why I started this Tandem Nomads and talking about portable business is this career curse that expat spouses experience, which is for me this whole, how when you have a normal career, a normal, what is normal today, but a traditional career, um, you kind of grow along the years. You get promoted, you get a salary, and even if you change companies or jobs, you grow. Your resume keeps evolving, and yeah, you keep growing in terms of revenue, but in terms of competences and experience and also recognition.
Mm,
But when you're an expat spouse, that doesn't happen because it's more like you have ups and downs consistently. You go, you find a job, that's great, but then you have to leave. Then you have a down, you volunteer, you do something, you don't work. Then eventually you find a job, and then okay, it start working, and then you have to leave again. So it's a zigzag. I don't know how you say that in French.
yeah.
You say "dans le scie." It keeps going up and down, and this is really something that's very daunting as an expat spouse, where we try to reinvent ourselves all the time. And it's a bit of a vicious circle because the more you try to figure out, I mean, the amazing thing about most expat spouses is that they're resourceful. Whatever they go, they're figuring it out, right? And that's what I love about our community. The thing about figuring it out as we go in each position is that every time we have to start something new and start from scratch. And this is a vicious circle, because then the resume is not complete, then the expertises are not complete. But most importantly, there's no financial freedom and independence and a financial backup plan as well. To be honest with you, this is something that I know is a taboo, but it's the real reason why I started Tandem Nomads. A lot of expat spouses end up in very vulnerable financial situations when they depend on their partners. We live in the modern world where it's okay, but we need to understand that marriages sometimes don't last very long. And I've seen a lot of spouses staying married just because they don't have their financial independence and be happy their whole lives.
Yeah.
And I
And
had so many.
this is
Sorry.
exactly the same reason that I started this podcast. It was just
Wow. Here
this
we go.
realization, the financial dependence, just kind of not being considered by a lot of times the employer, not having maybe a proper insurance, not having a retirement plan, not having savings to fall back on, or a network. Just that situation, I feel so strongly about it. And it's the same reason why I started this podcast. So I love that you just said that.
I love that. And you just summarized it really well, talking about social security, insurance, all these things that most countries, once you leave, even if it's your home country or passport country, you lose your retirement and your social security
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah.
So if you don't work, you can't have that unless you have a really solid partnership. And this is what I invite all of you who are listening. Even if you don't work, you need to have a backup plan.
Because
That's really
something can always happen. Maybe your spouse is unable, God forbid, to continue working or whatever. We don't know.
yeah.
And it's just really important to think about this.
Yeah. So this is what for me the career curse is. It's like we go for an adventure and we're excited to do it. It's just a sacrifice of a couple of years. But then the reality is that one move often leads to another. It's hard. I know very few people who go back to normal after a first expatriation. To normal. I just don't like that word, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So and then one day we wake up and like, where did my life go?
Exactly.
So this is what I want to avoid. And for me, the only solution is not looking for a job everywhere, is to build a business, but not any kind of business, a business that's portable and that avoids disruptions and that creates that constant growth and evolution that people who have a usual traditional career have. Through a portable business, we can create that growth. And just a side note, what has happened as well by building a portable business, I've seen some clients and some expat partners who were successful at it. And even if it wasn't like a huge business, that has allowed them to create an amazing resume that got them to get their dream job at some point. So even that is possible if it's not just for the business sake. So it is an amazing solution for me, especially nowadays. We have so many great tools. If we have the right marketing strategies, the right systems, it's possible to create revenue on the move and happiness and fulfillment.
Exactly, which I always stress is so important to just really find a sense of meaning and purpose abroad. Otherwise, it will just negatively affect your mental and even your physical well-being and of your family and so forth, right? So this is really something to take very seriously. So, all right, let's assume, there are probably a lot of people out there that said, well, I never thought of myself creating my own business. I'm not sure if I can really do this. What are there some indicators that you've come across where you're like, yes, you are ready to launch your own business? Or what would you recommend these people that have never really given this much thought?
This is a great question. You're a great interviewer, Camilla.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I'm going to try to summarize this with 3 key answers. Why, for me, the 3 reasons why those of you who are not too sure that entrepreneurship is the solution for you. The first thing I want to tell you is you might already be an entrepreneur and you don't know it. And one of the main reasons is because as an expat wife, you continuously adapting and finding solutions to all the problems and challenges that come along the way on the move. The expat wife is the person who solves the family problems on the move. It's 90% of the time like that. Like
Yeah.
everything falls into your shoulders. Schooling, finding the doctors, finding whatever insurance you need, the phone, everything that comes along the way with setting up the family in a foreign country is on the shoulders of the wife. And solving problems is the key skill of an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the entrepreneurs do. They solve problems. So if you see yourself solving problems and constantly adapting, you're likely to be an entrepreneur already and you don't know it.
Mm-hmm. I
And
love that.
yeah, I think that's the key thing here. The second, what I want to say is um, times have changed, you know, and traditional careers don't exist anymore, especially now with the pandemic. It's even more like disrupted. So the biggest issue for me is to see expat partners hesitating to take action because they have this dream job and dream career they had, and they imagine themselves in a certain way, and they keep mourning that identity of who they thought they would be as a professional, and mourning that career in a suit, in a jumpsuit, or in a like that image. I remember my image of a successful woman was in that nice like skirt and jacket, and walking from meeting room to meeting room making presentations. That was the image I had of myself as a successful woman. That is not even an issue of expat spouses. The world has changed and those careers are no more like this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So starting a business is just the next, it's just being part of our world today. This is not even the future. This is what the new, what is called the gig economy. This is like the new, it's being part of our world today to think about entrepreneurship as a solution for you. It's no longer that thing that when you tap on Google entrepreneur, you will just see a man in a suit and an expensive watch. But that's not the reality. Entrepreneurship is something you can manage from your bedroom and you can create revenue from. And we need to remove that image. And that takes some work, you know, to
Yeah.
to mourn that identity and to realize that there's something even more impactful and bigger ahead for you, thanks to the times we live in today.
Yeah.
And my last message, yes, it's entrepreneurship. Running a business is not for everybody. I do think that you have to have the commitment to make it work. And if you're not interested in committing for it, it will be hard for you to get results. But if you're committed, the only way to know if you're fit for it is to try it. If you don't try, you will never know. That's the
Yeah.
only way to have your answer, is to give it a shot. And worst case scenario, it doesn't work, you will still get so much value out of that experience, so much skills, so much experiences and job opportunities. I can tell you it happens very often in the Tandem Nomads community that expat spouses start businesses and that leads them to getting great jobs because they have proven that they can set up a business and they know how it works. It just happened that it didn't work in terms of revenue, but that's still interesting skills for some companies or for the next business idea. And that also
Exactly.
is the skills you need for your next business idea.
Yeah. And I think if you are not so committed, like you said, and if you don't want to go, all in and really give your everything to make this work, then probably it wasn't the right idea. There was probably not enough motivation to do this, right? Not a strong enough why behind it. I was just this morning, I was telling a client of mine about what it was like when I was still employed at my old company. And in the mornings, my alarm clock would go off, and I would just go like snooze, snooze, snooze. And I'm like, oh no, do I have to get up? And now that I just found my calling and I'm so fulfilled in what I do and it's my own thing, that also that makes such a big difference, because really everything I do, I see the results and they fall back on me. I'm just like, jumping out of bed, or sometimes I wake up a little earlier and I'm like, oh yes, now I have half an hour more to get started, before the kids get up. So
Love
just
it.
having this feeling, I think that's something that can come with entrepreneurship, which is so fulfilling, not just professionally, but also for your personal life. It just fills you up so, so much. And maybe it's not about if this is possible for you, but only will you find the right idea for you, the right motivation for you. It's out there for everyone, I'm sure, but I guess it's not oh, this is not for me. It's more like, well, I haven't yet found my great idea.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And yes, it's so much. You said it, Camila. I cannot imagine myself going back to that career that I loved.
Yeah.
I cannot. I don't think I would be happy. It
Neither.
just brings so much happiness to be able to make an impact and work hard, but at least you're working for yourself,
Yeah.
and you are directly seeing the impact of your work, and that's so meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's say, hopefully everyone will start brainstorming ideas, and maybe like Amel said, it's really about finding a problem and offering a solution for it. So maybe with this in mind, you can come up with something, something that's been really bothering you about a service or a product that you want to do better, or maybe it's related to your own skills and strengths that you can analyze for yourself, and just really, everyone, we encourage you to brainstorm, make a really long list of things that you're good at, that you like to do, because they're no coincidence. And once you come up with one or several business ideas, what would you say are the first important steps to bring this to life, to make this a reality?
All right. So the first step, I have this system that I call the 3C system.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3C system is the three important things that you need to build a successful business in general, and especially a successful portable business. And the first C is clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So before you start a business and get into developing a website and all of these things, what you need to figure out, as you said, Camila, is what is the problem you want to solve, and be really good at nailing the messaging around it, at explaining what it is and how you solve that problem. But even more important, you need to be very clear about who is your target audience. And that is the biggest challenge. And the main reason when a lot of people fail when they start their businesses is that they want to target everybody.
Mm.
If you try to reach out to everybody, you will reach out nobody. Focusing on a small, tiny niche is the best way to become the go-to expert.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know this sounds so counterintuitive, but I can also say it was true for Amal. It was true for me, that nailing your niche is just not only a way to know what your target audience really needs, a way to actually become the expert, because when people have a problem, they want to go to the expert. They don't want to go to someone who sort of knows about this too and who does a whole bunch of different things. They want to go to the expert, right?
Yeah.
And a third aspect is that you'll know where to find these people. You'll know where to find young moms. You'll know where to find internationals, expats, or whatever you want to focus on, whoever you want to focus on. So
Exactly.
yeah, niching is so
Exactly.
important. I think so too.
Very important. Yeah. And not having FOMO. FOMO, that stands for fear of missing out. People
Mm-hmm.
don't focus on the niche because they're afraid that they're going to miss out on other opportunities. The goal is to have consistent revenue. And if you don't want to be scattered and have consistent revenue, if you just go with the fear of missing out, that is going to really stop you from successfully growing on a consistent base.
Yeah. Okay, so the first C is clarity.
Mm-hmm.
What's the second?
So
I'm
the
curious.
second one is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, when they start, also try all different things. They're going to go networking, they're going to go speaking, they're going to go do advertising, Facebook posts, in every direction. I think what's really important is to, once you have defined your niche, that's going to help you. And do your market research, by the way. It's your market research that's going to allow you to define a good marketing strategy. And once you do that, then you have to stick to it and be consistent with it,
Mm-hmm.
not only with the marketing strategy, but as well as the way you deliver your product or service. So, if you go to a restaurant, for example, and you have loved that experience, loved the service, loved the food, and then you come back the next day and bring people or recommend it, and the food is not the same, wouldn't you be disappointed?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Great.
It happened to me. I recommended a place that was horrible the second time, like horrible. And I felt really upset.
Yeah.
So it's consistency has to be a big focus in your marketing strategy and your services.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
Great. So clarity, what are you going to solve? Who are you going to serve?
Mhm.
Being consistent, which also creates trust, I guess, right? In others, from others in your service or your product.
Mhm.
And what is the third C?
The third C is conversion. And that's all about making sure once you're consistent, that's when you know what's working, what's not working. And you need to have a clear strategy and systems in place to evaluate if your marketing funnel is actually generating consistent leads. So conversion is about like analyzing those metrics, but also learning how to sell effectively. And for that, I want to share, I know that that's the biggest barrier of a lot of people in general, and especially expat spouses, is that fear of selling and being too salesy or too slimy. And
Mm-hmm.
there, on top of the strategies, I think the first thing to deal with is the mindset around sales and understanding that marketing and selling is about helping people understand what is the best solution for them. It's not about forcing them to take something they don't need. If you nailed your niche, if you nailed their pain points, their challenges, and the solution to fix them, all you have to do is simply be effective at explaining them how their challenges can be actually fixed with your problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's
love
really
that.
important. It's not about being sleazy. It's about knowing your audience and knowing their language so they understand how your product can help.
Yeah, I love that. The three C's, that's so great and so easy to keep in mind. And I remember a business coach telling me or us in that group that when you have a great idea, you have a great service, you have a great product, you have a great solution, so to
Mhm.
speak. And well, obviously you're gonna love this solution, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be an advocate for it. Otherwise you wouldn't dedicate your time to it. So if you know that this is a great thing that you got going on there, wouldn't you want others to be able to access it? I mean, think of it that way. It's not like you're asking them a favor, it's actually you're offering them something.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes when we think about it that way, it makes selling a little easier because really you're not asking for favors. You're just telling them that this is a great solution to their problem that you want to offer them. So it's really
Exactly.
helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's important to not always come from our perspective. Also, that's a danger as well. When we get too excited about our product or service, we might just speak too much from our side of the story. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to always direct the conversation towards the person who we want to solve that problem to. And one key tip here that I always do when I coach my clients to sell is to have the three yeses before you even talk about your product or service.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have three times the person telling you yes to a question related to their challenges before you bring the solution.
Okay.
And so that is because otherwise you will be salesy and selling if you're just passionate about the product and you know how good it is, but you might just put too much pressure on that person because it's too good. So ask questions when you have a client ahead in front of you that make them confirm their challenges first.
Mm-hmm.
Confirm the challenge, confirm their willingness to solve it, and confirm if your solution seems to be something that that will help them. If you get those 3
Great.
yeses, then you can start say, perfect, this is how you can get it.
Yeah, that is great. And then actually they have indirectly asked you for it.
Yes,
So,
exactly. And
okay,
it
I love
flows.
that.
It's supernatural. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel like a sale. It's a conversation.
I love that. And for those maybe who don't yet have clients, could they try that with a friend who would sort of fit the target audience?
That's a great
Um,
idea.
right? And just to try it out and get those 3 yeses. So yeah, I love that. I love that strategy. All right. So now, what would you say are some, let's say, pitfalls, some things that people should avoid? I don't like to use the word mistake because really in business and in entrepreneurship, there are no mistakes because everything is sort of a lesson, I guess, a
Exactly.
valuable lesson learned. But still, there might be some things that you see a lot working with your clients and that you're like, no, don't do this, don't go there.
Yeah. I love that you talked about like how we embrace mistakes. Mistakes are great ways to learn. So I hope that we will make as many mistakes as possible in our journey. They teach us much more than our victories. So that's for sure. But one thing that I do think needs to be avoided um, is something that everybody does. Everybody who starts who doesn't have experience in business does. And here, if you know this now, you're going to save yourself so much time. Is when you have a business idea or ready to launch, the first thing that people do is have a business card and a website and just wait for people to come there. Your website and your business card is not what will bring you business. It feels good, right? It feels amazing to have a website. It feels amazing to have a business card and a logo and a name. And I see so, because it's like a recognition. It feels like, oh, it's coming to reality. And finally, if I'm working on my business, if I can show this, people will finally understand that it's tangible, it exists, right? So I see so many people when they start spend so much time and effort to wait to have the perfect logo, the perfect website, and the perfect, internet setup before they even start building a marketing strategy to attract clients. So
Mhm.
that's not the place to start. The place to start is by, like I said before, having clarity on your business and then building a marketing strategy that will lead to having people come to your website.
Mhm.
But the other thing for you to know what is that strategy, please don't skip the market research. Don't skip hopping. For example, here are some things you need to figure out. Once you know who is your ideal client or your niche, you need to understand what are their pain points, what is the language they use to express their pain points or their challenges, but also where are they spending time? Where are they reachable? Where are they consuming content that is for the purpose of solving that problem that they're looking to solve? And once you figured that out, that's when you can start building a marketing strategy. So I know very few people who actually take the time to do this market research and to hop on a call with people who could be clients, not to sell, but to simply listen and ask questions to understand what will trigger them to take action and buy.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's important.
Very, very important. Okay, I love this. Any other, wisdom or anything else that you want to share with future entrepreneurs, hopefully?
So, if you're thinking of starting a business, I always say, I think the biggest barrier is waiting for things to be perfect or waiting for something that you don't have figured out yet. No matter if it's your website or if it's your next country, I hear that a lot. Oh, I'm just waiting to know which other country we're going to set up my business. That's the whole point. We actually don't want you to have a business that depends on where you're going next.
Yeah.
So, my biggest call to you is start first, perfect later. Start somewhere. It doesn't matter where, just do something. And then you will grow and learn as you move forward. Don't wait for the perfect time because, in general, the perfect time does not exist for anybody. And even more for expats. There's never a perfect time. There's always something happening, a move, a kid sick, something happening, aging parents. There will always be something happening. There will never be the perfect time. So if you wait for it, it might not happen. Don't wait. Start first, perfect later.
Perfect. I love that. Okay, so there was so much value in this interview. There was so much content. I hope that everyone listening is really inspired to get started, to start brainstorming, to start researching. Very important, as we learned. Don't skip this step. And if it's still a little abstract for you, you know, what does this mean? How should I do this? How should I go about it? Or sometimes we just really want sort of a hand to hold and, you know, someone to kind of give us a nudge in the right direction. Well, Amel is definitely the girl for you. So can you tell us where people can find out more about you and your services and your amazing content?
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Camilla. This was really great questions that you asked, and I hope all of you who are listening had great inspiration here. So it depends on which situation you are. You might be looking for a business idea, or you might have one, don't know where to start, or you have a business and want to grow. If you're in one of these three situations, I'm definitely here to help you through my coaching services or my online courses. I have a great course called the Business Idea Accelerator that's designed to find the business idea. And then the second one, that's the Portable Business Accelerator. And that's basically the three system that I created. And I take you step by step through each of what to do in order to put in place this system and the foundations of a successful portable business. So this is what I provide. However, I have a lot of free resources for you before you even get started. So what I suggest is to go to tandemnomads.com. On the menu, you will have a button called free resources, and there you can pick the one that fits to your situation best, because depending on where you are, you might need a different resource. So I have a great resources there for you.
Perfect. I'm going to link all of that in the podcast notes and also your social media handles so that everyone can follow you and get in contact with you. And yes, thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and your experience with us. This is going to be so helpful, I'm sure, for so many expat partners listening to this. So thank you so much.
My true pleasure. And congratulations for this podcast. I think it's much needed to be empowered, and especially our dear community of Expat Wise. I'm really grateful that you're doing this, and congrats for all your great work.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, then, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to this episode, and I will be back with you next week. Bye.
Bye.